Okay, well, let's start by introducing ourselves. So, for those of you who haven't met me, hi, I'm Bryan Jersky, the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. And you all collectively are the reason we're all here. And so we really are delighted to be hearing from you about how you've been managing with this unforeseen and generally pretty awful experience. I think before we get started officially, can we perhaps go around and you can just introduce yourself to the viewers, maybe just name and major and where you are in your major, and we'll talk much more later. So how about if we start with you, Linda?
Hey, it's great to meet you. Well, my name is Linda, and I am a first-year graduate student in the speech-language pathology major.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. And how about you, Sarah?
Hi, I'm excited to be here. I'm a biology major, and this is my fourth year. I'll be graduating next semester.
Terrific. Well, we miss you already, Sarah. How about you, Justin?
How's it going? Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. So my name is Justin Hackett. I'm a current senior. We'll be graduating in May 2020, and I double major in business management and operations and supply chain management.
Terrific. Okay, well, welcome. And Sophia, sorry.
Oh, good. I take both. My name is Sophia. I am a double major in political science and journalism, and I am a current senior.
Fantastic. Well, boy, we certainly need your expertise in the media and in the political arena. So it's great that you're graduating. And how about you, Zoe?
Hello, my name is Zoey Smith. I'm a third-year mechanical engineering major. My program lasts for 5 years, so I'll be graduating spring 2022.
Fantastic. Well, how great to be sending you out into the world to fix out what's not stable there. That's great. Thanks, Zoe. And Emmanuel.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel, and I am a junior in the graphic design BFA program. And this is my first semester in the program, and I'll probably be graduating next fall. Well, fall of next year.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, and
thank you.
We hope that you enjoy your time with us, short though it may be. And last but by no means least, I'm a senior academic graduate, new Dr. Dennis Johnson, who certainly had a very trying time to move into that august position. But Dennis, tell us about yourself.
Hi, so I'm Dr. Dennis Johnson. It always feels good to say that. In a department of in a college of education, and I'm graduating as soon as you all allow us to walk across that stage.
It's let me just say, but for everybody that graduating and ceremony of graduating are two different things. So when you reach the requirements for graduating, you've graduated. The stage is just kind of the cherry on top. So as soon as you've reached and met all the requirements, you're good to go. So let's talk about the situation a little bit. Justin, in your business degree, what do you think the most significant change for you has been when your classes went to this alternative modality?
Definitely. So I think the biggest thing for business majors, or for me specifically, is that I really enjoyed being in the classroom. So I'm an extrovert, so I always enjoyed the discussions to kind of be more involved with the teacher as well as other classmates. We do a lot of case studies as well, a lot of group work. So it's kind of difficult at first to figure out really how I was going to adapt to the situation. I also ended up moving back home to Northern California as well. But I think the way that the Zoom sessions have been structured and the way that the teachers have really kind of been formulating their class kind of routines has made the learning process a little bit easier as well, and has honestly helped me with certain types of distinguishes for the way that I learn, basically.
Fantastic. Well, that's good to hear. I'm sort of pleased to hear that even for an extrovert, kind of sitting at home in front of a screen can sometimes work. How about you, Sarah, with your sort of biology degree? Are you sort of missing out on some lab and those kinds of experiences?
Yes, definitely. Being in lab was a significant portion of a lot of my classes. So yeah, it's definitely been a change, but I'm still getting it in a different way. I'm still learning. It's just been different, but it has definitely been a change and not a quick one.
No, it's one of the things that for me is most remarkable about how you all, and in most of the faculty as well, have managed to make this enormous change in such small amount of time. And it's inevitable that there's going to be glitches and problems and maybe even difficult classes per se, but the general feeling is that you've led the way. And so we're very confident still that you're going out into the world with your Long Beach credentials very much on top of the curve. So we're very proud of you. Zoe, you in mechanical engineering are also kind of a pretty hands-on, make things, do things, work with people in groups. How's that been for you?
Well, like you said, with the groups, I'm used to studying in bigger groups, and now it's I reconnect with some people through the phone, but it's not the same as like having the whiteboard and, you know, showing each other different papers and stuff. So it's not as tangible. So it's a little more complicated in that way. And also with like tutoring and like having the campus resources, those aren't exactly the same. They're still offering tutoring and everything, but it's, you know, all through Zoom. So it's just kind of hard to adapt, but it's doable. It's just like everyone's saying, it's taking a little bit longer, but
it does. I think it takes a bit longer, and not only is it sort of difficult to adapt, but it puts added stress and added burden, and God knows it's a stressful enough time of the semester for everybody, even when things are perfectly normal.
yeah.
We really all do understand and sympathize with kind of the unexpected and extra stress that's happening. So, Emmanuel, the graphic design, are you doing work by yourself a lot or working with people still? How's it going with you?
Well, so far we've been doing both, but I mean, we still miss like having critiques in front of the class, the physicality, interacting with with our partners in the classroom and everything. That's one of the biggest difference.
Yeah, I think that how does one, because I haven't got the answer, but you probably might have more of an insight than me. How do you induce immediacy? And yet we're so different. We're so far apart. Justin is in Northern California. We're down in Long Beach, and yet we're still together in some perhaps mystical way that is quite good for all of us. It's Linda, in terms of speech and language pathology, I know that your department has been quite amazing in telehealth and doing things with patients. Have you experienced that yet?
Yeah, I have to say, and I promise they did not pay me to say this, but I am so impressed with the kind of leadership that my department has really gone on and taken. And that goes to just, we know that telehealth has been been in the background and been around for quite a while. However, it wasn't until we were forced into this situation that we were really able to kind of flex that possibility. And although a lot of those health services, a lot of people find comfort in like having that kind of appointment, coming in and seeing physically, being in close proximity to the professional. As speech language pathologists, we are first and foremost just prioritizing communication. And so even though it's through Zoom, I do have to say, like, the communication aspect isn't necessarily something that is and our department really forged ahead and allowed our clinics, which is a big our hands-on component, right? We've really pushed on ahead, and although there were some who were skeptical at first, including some of our supervisors, they've really come around to seeing some of the ingenuity that we as students have really kind of adapted in order to make Zoom more interactive and more engaging. And yes, you do sacrifice a little bit in terms of proximity. However, I think it's also beautiful in that it really forces down like what would be a boundary for a lot of people who wouldn't get those health services. So, you know, I acknowledge that there are a lot of hardships, there's a lot of inequity, and not everyone has, you know, the bandwidth, or they might be struggling physically or mentally, all those things. However, at the same time, I really feel like, you know, those telepractice advocates in the background are really coming to the forefront. And they're saying like, look, like this is our time. We shouldn't go back and just keep on going ahead with it.
Right. It's because you've come across, you sort of in many ways, the COVID-19 situation has kind of just brought into very sharp focus the features of our society, which is, as we know, characterized by income and other inequality, characterized by racism, by, you know, the negative aspects of our country, and also, on the other hand, some of the good things about us, that we can be innovative, we can work together, we can improve things even in bad times. And so, in a sense, we've got to focus ourselves on those positive things while trying to control the negative things as much as possible. So anyway, well, thank you to you and your department for being so innovative. And then, Dennis, of course, you've had that awful experience. I hope it doesn't color your entire education, but with us. But what's your kind of, after a few days distance, how are you feeling, firstly?
I feel good. To answer your question, I think that being in a doc program, you become isolated in a way, and you, because you've learned so much and you know you're reading so much, you deal with a lot of anxiety and depression. And the cool part about being in that program is you have a cohort that you can see, you can touch, you can feel, that walks with you throughout that process. And I think now, not being around them, you only see them on the screen sometimes, which is very, very rarely, you allow that depression and anxiety to sink back in, and you don't have those barriers or those, I would say, that you can do it or keep going right next to you, or hey, let's go for lunch, and have that talk that reminds you of why you're here and why you're doing the work that you do. So that's one of the biggest changes. I think after the LinkedIn situation, it just taught me that, you know, we really have to not only preach but practice the social justice that we push within the university, I know within the department, and that it can look different in multiple forms, and that, you know, we all got a voice, and that we just need to speak up. It could be about Zoom, or it can be about you know, inequality in education or poverty, but I feel like we all just have to do something now.
It's true. And I mean, even though Dennis is being very modest here, just so that you know, his response to the unfortunate event that happened to him was to not let it defeat him, but to stand up to Zoom and say, what are you doing about this situation? And quite impressively, they reached out to him. And so your colleague, Dr. Johnson, is quite famous nationally now for saying this is not acceptable, must not stand. So congratulations, Dennis, for that reaction. In terms of the sort of being alone nature of the doctoral program, I can speak to that because I certainly know exactly what you're talking about. And yes, I can't imagine not having a group of people to sort of help me up and support me, and who I can support. But you've successfully completed your program, so hopefully you'll soon have another cohort of supportive people, tenure track faculty. I hope you're going to join us in the professoriate, and you'll find that that's also a supportive group. So, and then Sophia, we haven't got to you, but this must be such rich pickings for political science and journalists to learn from.
This is certainly an examination of the media and looking at how we communicate. And I think overall, I have to commend our faculty and professors and staff for their excellence in communicating. I have found that one of the most effective ways was just constant and comforting communication, or adapting their classes so very quickly to meet the needs of what we're facing now. I think for me personally, my struggles are personal. They're of a personal nature. It's the loss of really big milestones that I was looking forward to, the loss of extracurricular programs, and that sense of community that Dr. Johnson mentioned. I was very involved on campus, and that's been a difficult transition to not have that same community. And in my last semester, when you're really looking forward to the goodbyes, that sense of closure, that sense of finality, and some of the perks of graduating and having those goodbyes. So it's kind of grieving that loss of schedule, that loss of community. But all in all, I am so impressed and proud of the attitude of our students, my peers, our incredible faculty for making that change so very quickly and so very well. And I go Beach, because really we have, I think, shown in such a very difficult time.
Well, you won't get any argument from me, but I think I want to add and say our fantastic students have reacted by and large to this incredible challenge and loss, as you say, with great courage and fortitude and innovation and adaptation. You know, I want to talk about the goodbyes that you're all, or some of you who are graduating, are thinking of. And you know, you call the institution of higher education from which you graduate an alma mater, which is sort of nourishing mother, and is the translation. And you know, you're always part of the Beach family, so you're never going to get to say goodbye. We're not going to say goodbye, perhaps in the traditional way. And that really is sad. It's something we all love as administrators and faculty. It's sort of watch you all as you enter the world through the lens of commencement. But you know, we'll have something. We'll try and come up with something that's, I won't say equally good, but at least represents a measurement of your achievement. And with any luck, we'll see you again either on campus or somewhere else down the road, because you're always going to be a Long Beach alumnus. And so you never say goodbye. But for sure, it's been a different experience. You know, I went to the campus yesterday just by chance. I had to go and sign something for the new tenure track faculty who we were hiring. And some of them actually require specific signatures from me because they're coming from citizenship of other countries. And I was just thinking how amazing it was that in spite of all this turmoil and in spite of the, let me just say, unhelpful rhetoric and actions from Washington, D.C., that we're still able to do so many things locally that are positive and good, and we know that will keep Long Beach safe and whole for the future. So it was nice to be back, even though it was a bit eerie being on campus. There's nobody there. And one thing I can tell you, parking wasn't a problem. So, I mean, you've spoken about your confidence in the faculty, which I share. I've spoken about the confidence in you all representing the student body. How is there something that stood out for you in your classes, either as very negative or very positive? And some of you already have started talking about, is there one thing that happened either with your colleagues or your lecturers that kind of struck you as, wow, that's impressive, or gosh, if I was a professor, I wouldn't do that. How about you, Justin?
Perfect. So I would definitely touch on the importance of flexibility for teachers to be able to kind of maybe either extend deadlines or keep that constant communication. One thing that I really realized about myself is that for me, wanting to go into a general MBA later on, I need to be able to learn how to kind of learn virtually, because a lot of that stuff would probably be online. So being able to kind of distinguish and figure out like what my specific kind of learning style was really helped enable me to kind of talk to or communicate with teachers on a different kind of aspect, which was beneficial for both me and them. I think having the discussion board conversations as well with students is also great. So overall, I think the business faculty has done a fantastic job of communicating with their students. I would definitely, as an extrovert, I always enjoyed being in class through like socializing and everything like that. But the way that the Zoom sessions are kind of structured, even with the class that I'm in right now, which is my internship course, a lot of us, instead of talking about class, are actually talking about how each other are doing, whether that's in the internship or just in general.
Well, what you're saying is so striking to me because, the famous 20th century philosopher Martin Buber said that all education is a relationship. And in a sense, relationship is about trust, and the trust that teachers have with pupils needs to be mutual, and it's expressed also in how you feel, not only in what facts you learn. So that's a key thing. Zoe, we've sort of been talking about all kinds of humanistic philosophy and whatever that's typically not associated with mechanical engineers, but in fact, and I know that general education, liberal arts and humanities are very much a part of the teacher education. So not necessarily in that respect, but how have you found negative, positive, good, bad things that have happened?
Well, one positive thing that I've found in one of my classes was that usually it's like a 50-minute lecture, and then after that is just lab. So it's like all in all like a 4-hour class. And what my teacher did, instead of having us go on Zoom for that long of time, he did YouTube videos. So he finished like all of the YouTube videos for the rest of the semester within like a week or two. And I found that super helpful because like at least we could go back and pause and like rewind and whatever we need to do, and email him if we had questions. So I just found that he put in like a lot of effort with that, whereas he could have just stuck with Zoom and probably made his life a little bit easier, but he like took an extra step to make sure we really had the tools we needed to complete the semester well. So there's that. Yeah, I really, really appreciate that. I was like, wow, you didn't have to do that.
Right.
And then for myself personally, because I study in a lot of groups, I kind of go like at a group's pace. But when I've learned that, like when studying alone, like what Justin was saying, like there's a lot of learning about yourself and learning about the way that you learn that you get the opportunity to like figure out. And so I learned sometimes I'm better studying independently, because then I could like go at my own pace and not necessarily the group's pace. So yeah, two really big positive things have come from this. So
yeah, interesting. And so yeah, I agree, faculty and students have gone above and beyond, as you say. And what's also interesting is that maybe some of these positive things can last beyond this crisis.
yeah.
So we can say, well, hey, like, why can't we distribute the YouTube videos all the time? What's the downside?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the idea of knowing yourself, which is the classical Greek idea of education, is very important about how do you learn, what's the best way, when do you need that group to say, I don't know what's going on in this calculus section, or whatever it is. I'm an introvert, by the way, in case you were wondering, and so in some ways, this is quite easy for me. Hey, I'm home, this is fine. But no, I miss people still. Sophia, any positive, negative?
Yes, I've definitely found both positives and negatives, and all of it an excellent learning experience. I think some of the positives have been, as Justin mentioned, being flexible with deadlines or being flexible with course structures and adapting to those changes as we find them. And I think for the most part, all of my faculty have been incredible. I really, really have been enjoying some of the flexibility in modality. Some of our courses have been transitioned to, as Zoe mentioned, YouTube videos, which I have found very helpful and not at any loss to my educational experience. What's a bit more difficult is some of the classes that are at the same time as they always are. And if it's a different modality, you're just not getting that same face-to-face type. So it kind of feels restrictive if you have different family responsibilities or work responsibilities. That makes it a bit difficult. But then again, the classes that have felt the most comfortable and just like being in a classroom have been at those times and have been over Zoom and have been with us discussing together like we're in a classroom. And that has felt very comforting and very normal in a very unnormal time. So I think, again, it just points to the impressiveness of our faculty and their adaptability and flexibility. And these are clearly topics they're so passionate about and that they've put so much work into creating their classes. And for them to be able to be flexible and to change things as needed is just so commendable.
Well, thank you for that. And I think, you know, that realization, which is characteristic of all good learners, which is what you're demonstrating, that learning and teaching are difficult things. You know, it's always it's either amusing or irritating, depending on your mood, to hear people saying, well, you know, teaching is easy. You just spend, you know, half the day and then you can have the rest of the time off. And, you know, it's just such a caricature of the effort and thought and care and love, in fact, of faculty for their subject and by extension, their students. So, indeed. Emmanuel? This must have been very different from what you were expecting when you came to Long Beach.
Yeah, it is. But one of the positive things I've had with all of this has been that we're noticing that the professors, even though we like them and we always consider them like a friend, they've been even more flexible, as some have mentioned. And they offer some more of their time to talk with us if we need help with something else, if we need some extra feedback, even if we're not in class. And I really appreciate that, because sometimes when you're during a video conference, it isn't as easy as seeing the person. So having the chance to get a hold of them even after class is just like a blessing.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. Yes, it's that discovery of the professor as a person is a great joy it was for me when I sort of discovered quite late in my academic career, wow, you know, professors are actually people and they're interesting and you can talk to them. And so I wish I had discovered it earlier. So maybe that's a good thing. Sarah.
Hi, yeah. I've had nothing negative to say about the move online. All of my professors have honestly handled it so gracefully. I think the biggest thing, as we were saying, were the lab classes, is how do you move that online? But especially for my physiology lab, they were able to work with one of the textbook online modules, and to be able to get that for free for all of the students was amazing, because we all know how expensive textbooks can be and those online like activities. So it was amazing that they were able to get that for all of us and to continue that for all the students and continue our education in the lab online. But yeah, they've done amazing. It was awesome.
That is amazing. Wow, I'm impressed to hear it. And Dennis, as a new but important academic leader now yourself, what are you taking away from an education point of view from this crisis?
I think that one of the coolest things that I've taken away is seeing how all the different majors relate or they intersect in some type of way. So as Sophia was talking about, like journalism and political science, even being in education, specifically K through 12, I'm learning how the role it plays in public health, you know, why we need to keep students away, but also realizing the inequity that we see when we keep students away And though we don't want them to come to school, we still got to feed them. So they still have to, you know, pull up or get a lunch or something like that, or get internet access. So I'm just really learning how, you know, we all can contribute in our own way, and just using the majors that we have, you know, regardless of what you chose.
Yeah, I think that's right. The tapestry of society is so complex, and everything is connected. You pull one thread and the whole thing is affected, there's no doubt. Linda, you get the last word about this particular topic, and then I'll go on to something else you've already spoken about.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to paint an overly optimistic picture, because I think some of the reality is that as an instructor, we can tell truly phenomenal instructors because they engage with us, right? And trying to learn how to make your material and your presence, your charisma shine in real life, face to face, is already very challenging. And so it really was a huge ask to have our instructors be able to switch on a dime. And quite frankly, not everyone can do that. And I think recognizing that as a student, going back to learning about yourself, learning that your instructors are also people too. I've seen a lot of my peers really rise to the occasion in terms of just, I myself am also more of an extrovert than an introvert, but I can be an ambi. But my point in just saying that is that you can still use Zoom to create little study groups. So say having yourself in a room watching someone else's PowerPoints for 3 hours isn't your jam. That's okay. Pick a different time with like 4 or 5 of your peers and do a little mini teaching session. Because even if you go back to education, the best way that you can really test whether you understand a concept is by trying to adequately explain it to someone else. And so in this way, you know, it wasn't necessarily what you asked for, but it also creates a circumstance or a need in which you recognize your need and you can fulfill that need, or you can look to your peers. Hey, do you understand this? Can you explain this to me? And then, you know, set up your own little Zoom, do the little whiteboard the close that you can, find some YouTubes, pull together your resources. So once again, if not, you know, like I'm saying, like I'm not blaming any faculty for not being able to present that, because we know this has been a challenge for everybody. But I think growing in your power as a student and as a teacher, a lifelong learner, really is recognizing that, you know, education isn't transactional. You're really missing the point if you think that is the case. Otherwise, you'd just read a book and you'd be like, I'm an expert, give me the PhD. I don't need to defend, right, my dissertation. But the true nature is you really have to engage with it, and you really need to do the work. And yeah, I think I'm seeing, you know, just students really coming up and stepping up, and I'm learning in ways that are deeper than I think could have been otherwise. And I hope to carry that with me going forward as well.
I think so. I think it's one of the most important virtues that one gets from being a university student for a long period of time, is that you get to learn toleration. And I don't mean toleration in the sense that we usually use it. I mean tolerance of people's foibles, and understanding that not everyone is brilliant, and people make mistakes, including teachers and students and staff and administrators, and that's how the world is. And yet you can still learn, you can still enjoy, you can still you know, meet wonderful people, and that's a great discovery. The kind of perfectionist impulse that most good students have is, you know, nobody will respect me if I don't get an A+ for everything I do. Not at all true, as we know. But the passion and excitement and enjoyment, and also, you know, the excitement of going and contributing that to the society outside is just, for me, such an exciting thing, and why, for me, I've never really left education. I never left college, so I never really graduated. So they never let me go. We've got a whole bunch of new freshmen transfers, people coming in, we hope, in the fall. What words of wisdom do you have for them?
I think if I may start, one of the most
Yeah,
valuable
please.
lessons I've learned, both in high school and that I continued onwards, is to get involved. My collegiate experience would not have been half as incredible and wonderful if I had not been involved with my campus. I am so grateful to have taken advantage of the opportunities that you have in college, and even though this is a tough time to be entering into the workforce and to be graduating, I do feel that having those experiences and those relationships and those lessons that you learn from being involved are invaluable and will carry you far.
Okay, well, I couldn't have chosen better words of wisdom myself, so sort of thumbs up to that. What about other people? Zoe, any ideas? Words of wisdom for the new freshers coming?
Yeah, for one, I would say learn to take your opportunities as they come, because you never really know what's going to happen a week from now. So don't sit on something and think that you have more time to do it, because really no one's guaranteed any time to do anything. You just have to really step on it when you have the chance.
Yeah, well, positive. No regrets. Time goes one way, doesn't go backwards. Yeah, exactly right. Anyone else?
I would say be
Yes.
curious. I think that they should just be curious. Be willing to take classes and all type of things. I know, like, my first degree is in political science. My second one is in urban regional planning, and this one is in education. And right now, the political science and urban planning, just like from the classes I've taken, are helping me out more when it comes to understanding, what's going on today in society. So definitely just taking classes outside of the department, bringing their family members on campus. So I know some of them may be first generation, or not only a student, but a first generation professional as well. So just bringing your family on campus so you can break those systemic trends. And also, realizing, and we don't talk about this, but realizing that you will have to be the push when it comes to getting a job. You probably can get a letter of recommendation or something from your professors, but you have to really be out there grinding when it comes to those internships, scholarships, fellowships, all type of things. Like now, because of COVID, we're seeing it's not necessarily what you know, but who you know when it comes to certain opportunities. And it's going to really push students to be more social.
Right. Well, incredible words of wisdom. I love bringing your family to campus, making them part of our family. I love the being curious and taking risks. You're obviously a real Renaissance man yourself, with all kinds of interests and curiosity and talents. And yes, indeed, it takes energy and motivation and drive to get forward in the world. And you certainly have to do that as well. But we're here to help as far as we can. So don't forget us. Sarah?
Yeah, I just want to say to all the freshmen and transfer students coming on board, welcome. And just remember that you guys have reached one of your goals just coming here, and don't forget that. It's okay to not have any idea what you're doing. If anyone here really has any idea what they're doing, they're lying. So it's okay to fail or to not have any idea what you're going to do next, or if what you're doing right now is what you want to do. Like Dr. Johnson said, that we have all changed our mind. We've all taken different paths than what we originally started out with. So just make sure to make the best of it, and just to be confident in yourself and just stay true to yourself. And don't forget to come to tutoring. The SAS Center is still open for all the CNSM students.
No, absolutely. It's quite true. It's that thing that you said there is such an aspect of having a growth mindset that it's okay to fail. You're never going to succeed if you never fail. And you'll never meet anyone who has not failed unless they're really big liars. And that's one of the ways you learn. So that's great. How about Emmanuel? You're almost a new transfer yourself. So what would have been really great for you to hear?
So as someone already mentioned, probably will be getting involved with all the programs the school offers, because mainly because you get to know more people, to get the faculty, and also because it's going to help you along the way. Whether you think it will or it won't, it'll help you.
Right, I agree. It's the connections you make at university that so often support you for a lifetime of careers, changes. It's remarkable how often I contact the people I went to school with, and I think you're absolutely right. So get involved, make friends with all kinds of people. Don't stick in your own little group, and the more people you can connect with, the better. Great. How about you, Linda?
Okay. I think campus really does have a lot of resources, just kind of tying together some of the things I was hearing. So I'll say something that kind of goes to that, but I think it's really important that freshmen as well as transfer students really prioritize their mental and physical well-being, especially in times of a current health crisis, especially. But I think what it is whenever you come into a new environment, even if there are an abundance of resources, I think it's important that students really gradually will pay attention and then gradually identify and then build up habits that work for them. Yeah, I think that like, because if you create good habits, the kind of transformation, that journey that they're going to embark on is going to be fantastic. But if they don't have that foundation of those habits, finding out what their niche is, then it's going to be more challenging. So building up those habits, I think, was probably the best start that they can do.
Yeah. And I think your emphasis on physical and mental well-being is so well-founded, and of course it also goes back to the Greeks, a healthy mind and a healthy body. And yeah, we're not just mind, we're not just our degree, we're not just singles, we're multiple, we're manifold. Is that who is that poet? I can't remember. Walt Whitman. So that's right. So Justin, you get the last word here.
Fantastic, thank you. So there are a couple things that I like to address first. One, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Encourage failure, like everybody else on the panel has been saying. For me, I'm a motivational speaker, and I was involved in various student organizations and had various leadership kind of skills and activities that I did. I even wrote my honors thesis about how increased participation leads to intrinsic motivation. So like everybody else has been saying, please do get involved. You have the ability to impact the community. For those that are graduating, just know that you didn't go to college or high school to go to commencement. You went to get a degree. And another thing that I'd really like to bring up as well is that you don't live at school, home, or work. You live with yourself. Because a quote that I like to live by is, nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anyone can start today and make a new ending.
Well, I don't think any one of us could top that. And it has been an absolute pleasure and delight for me to spend almost an hour with all of you. And it just makes me realize how much I miss the classroom and how brilliant our students are, and also the reason why it was so lonely on campus yesterday, because none of you were there. And that's the only reason we have our Long Beach community, so that you can express your brilliance, you can deal with whatever failures happen, you can reach out to people, and you can interconnect the things that make life worth living. So thank you all so much.